Miniature Market has thousands of board games at discounted prices. Click the direct link below to see all of those discounted games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're continuing the series of reimagined retro board game classics, where we look at old board games that are classics and looking at newer modern games that used those mechanisms. Now last week we did Connect 4. Today we're going to be talking about bingo. And if you want to subscribe to this playlist not to miss any of these, you can click that little eye up there, and that'll bring you to the playlist of all these videos. Now, bingo's heritage traces all the way back to Italy back in about 1530. It was a game called Lotto. In the 18th century, a home version called Tombola was created in Naples with the addition of cards, tokens, and the calling out of numbers. Then in the 19th century, a game like this was played widely in Germany to teach children spelling, animal names, and the multiplication table. Now the French game Le Lotto appeared in 1778, featuring 27 squares and a layout of 3 rows and 9 columns. 5 squares in each row had numbers, ranging from 1 through 90, which led to the modern design that we see of today. Now, in the early 1920s, Hugh J. Ward created and standardized the game at carnivals in and around Pittsburgh and the western Pennsylvania area. Now, he copyrighted it and published a rule book in 1933. The game was further popularized by Edwin Lowe. While traveling a carnival near Atlanta in 1929, the toy merchandiser saw people eagerly playing a game called Beano, following Ward's rules with dried up beans, a rubber stamp, and cardboard sheets. Now Lowe took that game to New York, where friends liked playing it. Now, Lowe produced Bingo, in a game that had versions of 12 card sets for $1 and $2 sets for 24 cards. By the 1940s, there were bingo games throughout the United States. Now, the origin of the name bingo is unknown, but maybe dates back to like the 1920s. Now, there's tons of claims that one of Lowe's friends was so excited to have won that they yelled out bingo instead of Beano, or that the word echoes the sound of a bell, and that's how we have bingo as today. So the first modern day game that I want to mention that uses this bingo mechanism is called Super Mega Lucky Box. Now this was just recently on a video I just made called the top 5 games for peaceful families. And this is games that like to play games together, but they don't want a lot of direct conflict interaction, because this is great for those. Essentially, you're playing bingo, like all these games are going to have that fabric in there, where you have cards. Much like bingo, you have 3 cards in front of you, much like your bingo cards. And you are trying to, without a dauber, mark off certain spots or X off different numbers, and you're trying to complete the whole card, coverall in bingo, and trying to get the points for that. But there's lots of different things going on. Numbers are called. Instead of it's I-13 or I-30, it is, 5 or 9 or 6, and you're deciding which one of them. You only get to cover one of them instead of all of them in bingo. So you're picking one number on one card to cover, and you're trying to finish rows and columns, because when you do that, you're going to get bonuses. You're going to get to cross off a bonus number maybe somewhere. Maybe you're going to get lightning bolts that allows you to change a number. So if you got a 2, everyone's using the 2, you could spend a lightning bolt and get a 1 or a 3. You could spend multiple lightning bolts and get multiple different numbers away. And so you're trying to do rows and columns to combo together a bunch of huge turns, which are really fun. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 things that happen on a turn. But you're also trying to find the right time to score and finish it, because the more cards you finish on a specific round, the more you get. So sometimes you want to get close to the end and then score a bunch of them for the most points. But as you get closer to finishing cards, you have less spaces to go, and numbers might be called that you can't place. So since it's like modern day bingo, there's also sort of a majority thing where at the end, the one with the most moons that you get from finishing rows and columns gets points, and the one who has the least amount of moons loses points at the end of the game. So it literally is a modern day bingo. Great one, Super Mega Lucky Box. Now this next one also is sort of everyone's playing at the same time. It's called Karuba. Now in this game, you are racing to temples and gaining gems. So what happens is one person randomly pulls a tile and calls the number, like 14. And everybody else finds their 14 tile, and everyone can do one of 2 things. You can either place that tile anywhere on your map that doesn't already have a place, and that's usually what you're doing. And what you're doing is you're building this grid, and you're trying to get the adventurers, who start in different spots every game, but everybody has them start in the same spot. So everyone's playing essentially the same game. You're making these paths for these adventurers to go off onto the board, and you're trying to get them to get to the temple of their color. So because the faster you get there, the more points you'll get. So it's sort of a race. But sometimes you'll be, instead of placing the tile, maybe because you can't or you don't want to, you can discard it. And you're going to move your adventurers on the board a certain distance depending on how many paths there were on the tile that you discarded. And you're trying to land also and finish your movement on gems, because gems are worth points in the end of the game. So simply calling out a bingo number, 43, everyone's either placing it or discarding it to move their adventures, racing to temples, trying to end their turns on gems, and have the most points at the end. Bingo, pretty much Karuba. Now this next one was originally called Augustus. This game was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres the year it came out, which is the German Game of the Year. The year after that was reprinted as Rise of Augustus. And recently it's been reprinted as Via Magica. Now in this case, someone is pulling out things out of a bag. And instead of it being numbers, it's going to be icons like chariots or shields or swords and catapults. And the interesting thing is each of these has a different amount of probability. It's not completely even. Like there's way more chariots than catapults, for example. And so when it's called, you're placing a cube on that item on one of your cards, much like in Super Mega Lucky Box we just talked about. And you're trying to finish those cards because when you do, well, A, you'll get points, but B, you're also like getting different areas like green and yellow and red. And there's a race to rewards. You're trying to be the first to get a certain amount of different areas. Or you're trying to be the first to cash in your rewards to get a bigger reward. But there's a little bit of a pressure luck because once you pass a goal that you've turned up, you can't go back and get it. So it's a little bit of pressure luck if you think you'll get the next level for more points, a little bit of a gambling there. There's also goals that can move between players, like wheat. If you have the most wheat, then you take it. But if somebody else ties you or goes ahead, they take it from you, and whoever has it at the end is it. There's lots of cards that give you just special abilities. So instead of scoring you points, they might just give you abilities to use throughout the game. So again, the simple thing of calling bingo, catapult, swords, shields, placing them on a single card, figuring out which one you want to go in the ordering of things, and fighting and racing with others, another great way of using bingo, Rise of Augustus, or Via Magica. Now the last one I'm going to mention here is called Ecos, the First Continent. Again, much like the one I just spoke of, there's a bag, and someone is pulling out a single huge wooden chunky token, and these tokens are going to be things like grass, sun, animals, very similar to Rise of Augustus, where there's the different ones have different amounts of them in there, so it's not an even probability. Very similar to the other one where you are filling up cards. Interestingly enough, in this, you're building collaboratively with other players. It's a competitive game, but you're building up this land area. Because as you fill up a card, a lot of times you're going to be placing things out there, like tiles, like ocean or prairies or mountains, right? But other times you might be bringing out animals. Animals can only go in specific things, like, the elephants go in the grasslands and the sharks go in the water. And a lot of times you're going to be using these animals to move around and eat other animals that maybe other players have placed out there to get points for them. So everything you do affects everybody else. It's a very interactive game, but you're also trying to get cards that give you goals as well. So again, you're trying to figure out which card to finish, when to finish them. Each of the cards can also be activated multiple times, 2, 3, or 4 times, depending on. And so you're building this shared ecosystem. You're trying to build the map. You're also trying to get scoring cards, and you're also trying to figure out the right time to do the right abilities, the right time to get different gold cards. Depending on the cards that you get afterwards, your choices will depend on what else everybody else has put out there. So you're building your own continent with other people, but competitively trying to build it in the way that scores you the most points, all while using the bingo mechanism. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this bingo version of this series of reimagined retro classic board games. If you want to see some of your favorite classics, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I have plenty of others of these planned where I may already be doing them, but maybe not, so let me know. And again, you can click up there in the corner and see the whole playlist of all these so you don't miss them. And if you don't want to miss any others, please subscribe so you don't miss any of these other videos. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games by helping you find the next one you love. Game Toppers upgrades every game you play, and they just launched their 4.5 Kickstarter, which will introduce the new Galactic Mycroft and Watson Game Toppers with interchangeable rail inlays, as well as new game mats, miniature gaming terrain packs, leg kit options, dining covers, accessories, and amazing package deals. Search for Game Toppers on Kickstarter or go to GameToppersLLC.com.